Telling a story based on the first thing that pops into your head without intent is the absolute wrong way to become a great storyteller. When it comes to the art of storytelling in screenwriting, you need to learn how to tell stories cinematically and in the most visual way possible. Now look, there are hundreds and hundreds of ways of telling a story, and relying mostly on dialogue is just one of them. But remember, we're not writing a novel when it comes to screenwriting. Every scene and every shot has an underlying language that makes deep inferences about how the audience sees the world. There's a particular language used in film. Just as humans communicate through actions, gestures, and the spoken word, shot types, what is in the frame, dialogue, actor expressions, directing decisions, camera movements and lighting, sound, and editing decisions are all included in our cinematic language. Now, these are things you'll need to keep in mind as you tell your story. Everything needs to be portrayed in the most visual way possible. The golden rule in screenwriting is show, don't tell. For instance, consider things like story structure. Now, great films should have a structure that isn't too difficult to follow and has unexpected plot twists. Your story only really needs to have a beginning, middle, and an end. It's just that simple. Don't try to overcomplicate things when I mention things like plot twists. Now, your story only really needs to have a beginning, middle, and an end. Introducing your characters, setting, and genre at the beginning of any type of story follows a pretty standard structure. This is something that most people are used to seeing. After this, somewhere in Act 2, in the middle, any issues will start to typically happen. This is going to be where all of the conflict starts to rise. And then in Act 3, all of those conflicts are resolved. This is one of the most basic ways to tell a story, and there's nothing wrong with this approach as long as your characters are engaging and have a strong purpose or a goal. And remember, you don't have to stick to the standard story structure. Experiment with the order in which things happen and how that affects how the audience perceives your characters or the events. Movies like Pulp Fiction, Fight Club, Memento, and The Usual Suspects are some great examples of that approach. You'll also need to pay close attention to how you open your story. This is critical because in today's world of super short attention spans, people just get distracted and lose focus a whole lot more easily than they used to. Even if your story is a long drama, if it takes too long to get going and getting to the point, you risk losing your audience before it even begins. Only you can decide what the pacing is going to be, but just keep that in mind. With so much competition out there and so much content being jammed in everybody's face, it's more crucial than ever to grab people's attention quickly. Assume everybody who's watching your movie has ADD. This way, you will constantly be looking for ways to keep them engaged. It doesn't have to be car explosions and aliens invading the earth in the first 2 minutes, but it does need to be something that will keep your audience from falling asleep. So pay close attention to your script's first 10 pages, which should establish a good pace and feature your unique characters, mainly your protagonists. Keep in mind that you should be intrigued and want to read more as you get through the script. After 5 or 10 pages, have somebody else, like a friend or somebody whose opinion you trust, actually read that script, the first 5 or 10 pages, and ask them if they would like to keep going based on what they've seen so far. If so, then your movie has a good chance to capture the emotion 10 times better. Knowing your audience before you start writing is also crucial for any content you produce. Who would be interested in seeing this movie? What do they enjoy doing? And what piques their interest? What age are they? You can make the screenplay for your movie even more enticing for your target audience by making sure you're telling the right story to the right group of people. So make sure you have a target audience in mind. You can easily conduct some basic market research just by looking up what types of audiences turned out for similar movies to your story. And don't forget, most importantly of all, that your story will come from the character. There's no way to separate story from character and vice versa. A weak story means you have a weak character. So you'll want to make sure your characters are unique and interesting. Avoid all of the stereotypical crap that you normally see. Give them some type of unusual quirk if you have to. Just make sure you create your characters the audience can identify with and make their journey difficult at every step. You're going to hear me repeat this throughout all of my videos because it should be top of mind.